Well, good afternoon and welcome to Cut to the Chase with Senator Chase, our weekly call-in town hall and radio show. I'm State Senator Amanda Chase, your weekly radio show host, serving the 11th Senatorial District, which includes all of Amelia, all of Colonial Heights, and most of Chesterfield, where I live. I'm a Christian, conservative, Republican, and in that order, I serve on 4 committees in the Senate, Health and Education, Transportation, Local Governments, and Privileges and Elections. And it's an honor to be on this show each week. And, this month alone, this is going to celebrate our 1-year anniversary of Cut to the Chase with Senator Chase. And we're also excited to announce that in addition to being on 820 AM, we're also going to be on 97.7 FM at the same time, 4 to 5 each Thursday, allowing us to better reach Chesterfield, Amelia, Richmond, and even beyond. And beginning next week, we're going to begin featuring a different legislator each week. We're going to begin with the Senate. And we're going to be addressing issues that constituents bring to our attention. And just we had so much legislation that took place even in our short session. We're going to be going over different legislation. I'd also like to bring up, whenever session ended, we had over 800 bills that passed both the House of Delegates and the Senate of Virginia, and they were signed into law by the governor. And this coming Saturday, July the 1st, those bills are actually going to take into effect, and we're going to be discussing several of those bills at the end of the show today. So I'm really excited about our guest that we have on the show today, John Whitbeck. John is the chairman of the Republican Party of Virginia. He was elected on January the 24th of 2015, following the retirement of our former RPV chair, Pat Mullins. And, he had a big job ahead of him because if you remember, now this has been a couple years ago now, he had a big challenge ahead of him because this was a period of time when the grassroots, the Tea Party folks had band together and elected Dave Bratt. Everyone was surprised at that election when Congressman Bratt defeated former Congressman Eric Cantor, and I've worked for both and respect both of them greatly. But that's what John Whitbeck inherited. John, are you there?
I'm here, Amanda. Great to be here.
It's great to have you on the show today. Now, I'm going to give folks a little bit of background about you. We don't get to talk about folks, but I love doing a lot of research. And I understand you went to law school at George Mason University.
I did. One of the few conservative law schools out there in America today.
And
fantastic place.
And you know what? He didn't just graduate from there. He graduated cum laude. So congratulations on that. I think it's important for people to know that we have a very qualified RPV chair, Republican Party of Virginia chair. And you and your family live in Leesburg, Virginia. Is that correct?
We do. We love it. Loudoun County is our home, and my kids are born and raised there, and we're real happy to be adopted Virginians, but they're Southern Belles, so we're really excited.
Well, we're happy to have you and appreciate you joining us on the show today. And you also have a law firm. You're the founder and the major shareholder, which a lot of people may not know, of Whitbeck. And I can't get this middle one's right. Cisneros, is that correct? And McCown.
Cisneros.
Okay,
pretty close.
I knew I was going to butcher that one. It's okay. And so you have offices in Loudoun County, Clark County, and you practice family law, criminal law, mental health law, which I thought was really interesting, especially with the opioid and heroin crisis. I'm very impressed with your resume, and you've even run for office a couple times, and I wish you would win those seats. You need to go back and revisit that. So
I can win those party races easily. It's the general election that eluded me so far.
Well, you're in a tough area, and you know what? I'm really glad that you're there, fighting the fight there. So it's an honor to have you on our show today, and we have a lot to talk about. So much has happened. Now we just visited together this past weekend at a state central committee meeting. Did you want to tell folks who are out there, a lot of our listeners, that they're just driving along and they may not necessarily know what that is?
Right. Well, our leadership of our party is called the State Central Committee, and it's the state equivalent of the Republican National Committee, of which I'm a member. It's 83 voting members, including myself, who basically we represent the Republicans around Virginia. We come from 11 different congressional districts. We have some statewide folks like our treasurer, our secretary, but we're sort of the board of directors of the party, and we decide what our nominating processes will be. We talk about our budget. We adopt our budget. We do the business of the Republican Party of Virginia, and we meet 4 times a year. And last Saturday was our third meeting of the year, and then we got a lot of good stuff done.
Absolutely. And, a lot of folks feel like there is always an election going on because they're always seeing advertisements. It seems like every year, but you know what? There is an election in Virginia every year, right?
No question. Every year we have an election. We never get a break, and it's exhausting, but it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. It's a good thing you like this stuff, too. A good thing we both do, right? So
right.
So let's go back to, we a lot of folks might be interested. We're talking this coming November. We've got a very big statewide race coming up. Let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about major policy differences. We're going to be electing our next governor, our next lieutenant governor, attorney general, and we even have House races coming up. So tell us a little bit about what you see on the horizon for that.
Yeah. Now, well, Amanda, I just came back from the White House. We had a Virginia Day with the political staff where leaders from across the Commonwealth, the statewide campaigns, the Senate caucus, the House caucus, all briefed the political staff to share with the president sort of the political landscape of Virginia in 2017. And as you said, we have an election every year, but this election is our governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general. And then every one of our House races is up for re-election because they run every 2 years. And the stakes could not be higher for the Republican Party and really for Virginia and really for our president, too. I mean, the Democrats are treating every single election from, local races on up to governor's races as a referendum on the Trump agenda, which it's really not. But we keep winning. And in 2017, November, we have an opportunity to elect our ticket, our governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general. And just talking about the governor's race for a second, the Democrats have nominated a bona fide extremist. There are stark differences between our nominee, Ed Gillespie, and their nominee, Ralph Northam. Lieutenant Governor Northam supports driver's licenses for illegal immigrants. He supports sanctuary cities. He supports he's voted to raise taxes on just about everything you can in policy. He believes in a $15 an hour minimum wage. Ed Gillespie, on the other hand, wants to cut taxes across the board for Virginians 10%. He opposes sanctuary cities. Will sign the bill that came through the General Assembly this year to stop sanctuary cities. He opposes driver's licenses for illegal immigrants. Believes in the Second Amendment. Believes in life and all the issues that we care most about. And these differences are so stark. You have one candidate in Ed Gillespie who's a mainstream center-right Virginia gentleman, and you have another candidate in Ralph Northam who might as well be running for governor of California. That's how extreme left he is.
Right, exactly. And I can tell you, as a member of the General Assembly and looking at some of the votes that we had in there, it's so important to exercise your right to vote, especially if you're a Republican. We really want you to exercise your right to vote. And let me tell you why. We had a lot of legislation that passed the House, passed the Senate, and was vetoed by the governor. And I've been on Facebook a lot, talking to different people. After a race is won, after the primary is over, we had a number of candidates that ran, and they ran spirited races, and it was a tight race. But what makes Republicans different is that we get behind our nominee. It's time to lick our wounds and get behind the candidate and move forward. And so I've been encouraging everybody to do that. Some folks on Facebook are saying, I'm only going to support 75% of the ticket. And I really challenge them. And I say, look, I can't work with the General Assembly and get our work done if we don't have a governor that's going to actually sign into law the legislation that we pass. You have to have 100% of that ticket there. You have the lieutenant governor that presides over the Senate. That's their job. They're the president of the Senate. They break the tie-breaking votes. We have to have Jill Vogel as our next lieutenant governor. We have to have John Adams as our attorney general. And I have to tell you, all three candidates I actually have known personally, and I know you have too as well, and I don't take endorsements lightly, not at all. And in fact, this past year, I actually did make a couple of endorsements in these races, and Ed Gillespie is a man of character and integrity, and I just encourage those of you who are supporting the other candidates to get behind it and cast your vote for Gillespie. And I'm going to give you all the number. It's 804-454-1366. We're getting ready to go to the break, but John's going to come back. You're going to be able to come back after the 4-minute break, John?
Yes, absolutely.
Fantastic. So we're going to come back. Write down the number 804-454-1366. Feel free to call in with your questions, and we're here to take those. So stay tuned. We'll be right back in 4 minutes. Well, thanks for tuning in live to Cut to the Chase with Senator Chase. And I have Republican Party of Virginia Chair John Whitbeck on the line live today. So you all give us a call at 804-454-1366, and we'll do our best to answer your phone calls today. We've been talking about the governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general race, which is coming up this November. We want to make sure that you're prepared with the facts. Policy matters. Policy affects your daily life. Whatever decisions are made at the state level do affect you. And so it's important to be informed. It's important to be engaged and know what's going on. And in fact, in Chesterfield, this coming Saturday, I am joining Ed Gillespie in Chesterfield, and we're going to do a door-to-door operation right here in Chesterfield County. So what email, like if somebody wanted to say, sign up and say, how do I get involved, John, where could they go to the Republican Party of Virginia? What's your website?
Well, our website is virginia.gop, and we have a sign up right there when you log on, real prominent, so you can't miss it. And we would love to have you sign up. Ed Gillespie has signed up over 6,000 volunteers statewide. We intend to double that number here in the next few months. So get on our website and sign up.
Absolutely. And I would also remind you, as with every single election, there are truths and myths that you hear across the airways. And I think sometimes people kind of shut down because they get overwhelmed with all the information and the misinformation and trying to sort truth from fact. I know that Ed has a website. It's called edforvirginia.com. It has truth and myths on there. So I encourage you all to check that out. It's edforvirginia.com. And they're working together as a full ticket. Ed, Jill, and John, they're working together, going across the state. And if folks want to meet or visit them, do we have like a tour schedule that's on the website as well?
The campaigns themselves have their schedule. We try to keep it together. We also have our calendar, so we'll have on our website as well. But the best place to go if you want to see when they're coming to your area is the campaign websites themselves. Okay,
perfect. Very good. So I saw on the newspaper today where Tom Perriello, who, as you all know, challenged Ralph Northam for the governor seat and lost, is now going to spearhead a PAC to help the Democratic House races. So, that's a little disconcerting to me, especially whenever you're looking at all the money that they're trying to bring into Virginia. They definitely, Virginia has now become the bellwether state. I'm still calling it bellwether because I refuse to believe that we're blue or still red. We're just divided red. John, what can we do to unite and become red again? Because everyone I talk to out on the streets throughout Virginia and everything predominantly share our conservative views. And I think their frustration a lot of times lies and the fact that Northern Virginia, which carries a lot of the vote in Virginia and, of course, the Virginia Beach area, seems to dominate and put us in the other direction toward a more liberal candidate. So what do we do to fix this problem?
Well, Amanda, you hit the nail on the head. You talked about the vetoes. It's staggering. Governor McAuliffe vetoed 120 bills this last General Assembly session. That is more than the previous 4 governors combined. Mm. And So basically what's been happening the last 3.5 years, Governor McAuliffe has zero accomplishment, none. He has no agenda. He's done nothing except try to throw Medicaid expansion, which is essentially Obamacare, in Virginia. And our House of Delegates has thankfully stopped them from expanding Obamacare in Virginia. But real change, real policy, real wins for Virginians are not happening because the governor vetoes anything the Republicans try to do. And we need a Republican governor to match our majorities in the House and the Senate to really move forward, to reform our tax code, to make sure that the war on coal and the war on energy stops, to make sure that our Hampton Roads area has, our veterans are taken care of. All these things that Republicans want to do to make the world better, improve education, to improve healthcare, are all going to be stalled or stifled if Ralph Northam is the governor. So if you want a reason to unite and come behind Ed Gillespie and vote for him and Joe Vogel and John Adams, just think about all we can accomplish with Republican majorities and a Republican in the governor's mansion. It's a beautiful thing, and it's something that we think we can do this year, and it's going to have real results for Virginians if we get it done.
And you bring up a really good point there. A lot of people always say, well, why isn't the Republican Party of Virginia doing more? And I was like, well, it's really up to us. It's up to us to reach our friends and our neighbors and get them out to vote, remind them to vote, take to social media. I know at the beginning of my neighborhood on Election Day, I have just these solid yellow signs that say vote today. It doesn't even have a candidate on these particular signs, but they just say vote today, just to remind people to get out and vote. And we put the candidate signs are always out there, but we always put the vote today signs up right over top on the 4x8s and that type of thing. Because sometimes those signs, those big 4x8s, they start blending into the landscape. So the day before election to see that big vote today sign, I think reminds people, to get out and vote, especially in our Republican areas, and reminds people to get out and vote. Because I know people are busy. People like yourself have, law firms and, we're small business owners. My husband started 2 businesses since I've been in office, and I've only been in office for 2 years. So
wow.
we stay busy. And then, of course, we all have kids. So we got to do our part, though. Otherwise, if we stick our heads in the sand and we don't get involved, then it's not good. We end up with higher taxation. We, it starts affecting your life. You're wondering why more and more of your paycheck is going to the government, and you're not able to take take home pay to buy things for you and your family. That's the more and more of our paycheck is going to continue to go to the federal, state, and local governments. And we just went on the air a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about that additional fee that Chesterfield just passed that had to do with stormwater management fee. These are all, not all of them, but this was a particular fee that was passed down as an unfunded mandate from the federal government. And they just pass it on down, and it's going to hit your pocketbook, y'all. So I'm encouraging you to, definitely get out there and vote. It's always the second Tuesday, first Tuesday, second Tuesday. What is it, John? Tell us. Keep us straight here. Remind people.
First Tuesday in November is always the election day, and you're a grassroots conservative, man. I love your yellow vote today signs. Proudly, some of them say paid for and authorized by the Republican Party of Virginia, because they come from, it was your idea. It's a great idea. One of the things that we need to keep in mind, Ed Gillespie talks a lot about we're in the bottom 10 in economic growth, but think about this. Ralph Northam wants to unionize Virginia. Mm-hmm. He wants the right to work is something that's ingrained in our culture in Virginia. We are a proud right to work state. We've been that way for in our history. And Ralph Northam wants to destroy the right to work and forcibly unionize Virginia and make workers pay mandatory union dues. And this is in an era when states are getting rid of that scenario. Missouri just became a right to work state.
So stay tuned. We're going to be right back. We've got to go to a break. Thanks for tuning in to Cut to the Chase with Senator Chase, our weekly town hall and call-in radio show. This is actually our one-year anniversary, and we're excited to be on the show. I want to thank WNTW, The Answer, for allowing us to provide this free public service to you each week. And just a reminder, if you want to call in, it's 804-454-1366. And thankfully, I still have John Whitbeck, who is the chairman of the Republican Party of Virginia and was elected back in 2015. And we're so excited to have him on the show today. And we were just talking about the dangers of unionizing Virginia. You know, we talk about choices, but we want to give people the choice not to have to pay union dues to work. So tell us a little bit about the states that are unionized versus Virginia, which is a right to work state. What are the differences? I don't even think people, I mean, a lot of people have lived in Virginia all their life. Maybe they don't know the difference.
Well, in a right to work state like Virginia, you choose whether to be affiliated with a group or a lobbying group, an advocacy group that promotes your issues. Like teachers, we don't have teachers unions. We have a teacher lobby, but we don't have teacher unions. In states that are unionized, like California, you have these very, very powerful unions where whether you're a conservative or a liberal, you have to be a part of these unions. And these unions support Democrats for elections. So let's say you're a conservative teacher and you live in California. You're forced to give money to an organization that gives money to Democrats. And, you know, and in Virginia, we just don't have that, and we've been very lucky. But this is what Ralph Northam wants to do to Virginia. He wants to unionize Virginia, and which will drive up costs, hurt our Virginia's families, and it's a disaster waiting to happen if we go there.
Yeah, and let's just talk a little bit about what happens whenever we try to raise the minimum wage and how that actually hurts you all who are trying to find employment. One of the things that I see as a small business owner is if a lot of times, you just want to test the waters with someone who maybe new, they're inexperienced, and you think, well, I'll start you off at minimum wage. Let's see how you do. But if you're having to pay a higher, quote unquote, minimum wage, you're going to try to find somebody that's more experienced because you have less room for error, if you will. You're having to pay, it increases the cost of doing business, because you're already going to have to pay insurance. And, we're looking already at expanding one of our businesses right now and bringing other people on. And it was like an extra $1,000 in insurance a year for that one additional person. And so, it's something that we look at as business owners. And, if you think, well, it's counterintuitive, I think, to some folks. They think, well, if you raise the minimum wage, then I'm going to get paid more. Well, there's unintended consequences to that. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, you're right, Amanda. Those folks that are out there that are listening to Northam talk about he's going to raise the minimum wage, your job is at risk. I mean, that's really what happens. And there was an amazing article in the Washington Post of all places a couple days ago that talked about Seattle. The city of Seattle raised its minimum wage to $15 an hour, which is exactly what Ralph Northam wants to do. And the article was a very fair look at, what happens when you raise the minimum wage that much. And small businesses and large businesses alike are just hemorrhaging jobs because they can't afford to pay everybody the minimum wage. And it's been the exact opposite of what the intended consequences were. They wanted to raise the minimum wage so workers were getting paid more and would be able to feed their families easier, rather than the struggle that many low-income workers face. The problem is once they raise the minimum wage, all those same workers, they lost their jobs because their employers can no longer afford to hire them.
Okay, so I'm getting an email here, so I'm going to read this on the air. It says, Mrs. Chase, I will vote for the Republican ticket only because the left has an even worse group. Your current guest, Virginia GOP chairman, sadly illustrates what the real problem is. Another Northern Virginia lawyer who cannot answer a question but talks about the other side and interjects predetermined talking points. Why does the GOP pick candidates who have not had a job outside of party chairman or partisan policy wonks? My guess is Gillespie will lose by 6 points. Well, I want to say something here. The people that you have to volunteer to run for office, the GOP, we, the people, pick the candidates. People say, I'm going to run for office. We have to get the signatures to run for office. The Republican Party is not going around going, you run and you run and you run. These people feel like they have a calling and they say, look, I think I would like to run. They ask their friends, would you sign you have to get enough signatures to run. So the GOP is not going around picking candidates. That's what we did in our Republican primary, which was open for people to cast votes in. So that's how we get the people. Gosh, we're already going to a break, but I'm glad you're listening. This is Larry here. I'll keep his last name here, but we're gonna talk a little bit more about Larry's statement here. And feel free, those of you, if you'd like to comment on today's show, feel free to do that. And we'll be back after the break. 804-454-1366. We'll be back with John Whitbeck. Thanks for tuning in to Cut to the Chase with Senator Chase, our weekly Thursday town hall. And we're celebrating our 1-year anniversary, and we are here to take your phone call, 804-454-1366. I am State Senator Amanda Chase, and I'm here on the line with John Whitbeck, who is the chairman of the Republican Party of Virginia. And, the last part of this question, it says, why does the GOP pick candidates who have not had a job outside of the party chairman or party policy wonks? And, sometimes I think people have impressions of what it's like, but I know in the state legislature, we all have full-time jobs. Many of us own businesses. Some people are attorneys. I'm not an attorney, I rely, but let me tell you, you're writing law, so it is good to have attorneys in the General Assembly. There's a good mix of us in there, business owners. Siobhan Dunavant is a doctor, so we really like having her on there. And we've even had Delegate O'Bannon, we've got 4 doctors in the General Assembly. So we do have a wide variety of folks who have had jobs outside of the party. My husband and I have been small business owners of one type of business or another for the past, since we've been married 25 years in July. We've just always had small businesses, and that's what we do because we have so many kids. we have to have so many jobs. Mm-hmm. But anyway, what would you have to say to that, John?
Well, look, first of all, Larry, you feel free to email me, chairman@rpb.org. I'd love to talk to you further. I hear good and bad all the time from conservatives and Republicans out there. And Larry's point really illustrates a lot of the anger that people have right now with politicians. And look, I am a Northern Virginia lawyer, proud of it. I own a small business. I'm also a volunteer. I don't get paid to be the chairman. I do it because I want to help Virginia elect as many Republicans as possible. But, look, this president is where he is today. He was elected to office because people want to see serious change. And, I think that at the end of the day, the Republican Party has, like you said, you're not an attorney. You're a small business owner. You're a part-time legislator. Your General Assembly meets for a very limited time during the year, and then you go back to your regular life. We have really great people on our side working for us in the General Assembly, and we're really fortunate to have those people. But I tell you, we're facing a crossroads in Virginia right now. If your reason you're voting Republican is because the other side's terrible, fine, we'll take it. Because I tell you, this is the last chance we've got to turn things around before we really are a blue state. And electing our statewide Republican ticket is the last hope we've got.
Yeah, I exactly agree. And, one of the reasons that I got involved with politics, I've only been involved for probably 10 years. And, mainly it was because I had 4 kids. We both work. My husband and I both work full time. We didn't have time to breathe. And, I always equate my experience to getting involved with politics. It's like, I have 3 drivers now in my house out of my 4 kids. My youngest got his official license this week. So here's a great analogy. It's kind of like your kid with the learner's license is in the driver's seat and you're in the back seat kind of half falling asleep, and suddenly the car starts going in the ditch and you wake up. That's kind of like my political experience, and that's when I decided to get involved because we were paying higher taxes on small business. We were keeping less of our disposable income, and so I thought we've got to get involved if we're going to keep Chesterfield an affordable place for everyday average family to live in. My husband and I grew up here, and we love it. So everyday people are involved in the Republican Party, and we want everybody to get involved. And that's been part of why I had this show, because I know a lot of times I felt like my elected leaders were not approachable in the past. But we've worked really hard. I know Congressman Dave Brad is my congressman. He and I both worked together. We even had that town hall that, even though it was a little rowdy, we knew it was going to be that way. We had it anyway because we want to hear from people, and we want people to feel connected. And I can honestly say that there has been a huge paradigm shift in the last 10 years as a result of the Tea Party getting involved. And I remember when I first got involved, there were people who had been working in the party for decades and, making sure that we got conservative people elected, and I didn't have anything to do with that, and I feel bad for not carrying my weight all those years. But, a lot of us didn't really know the ropes and understand, kind of how things work. And I think some of the folks that have fought the battles for years had to get used to those of us who, had never been involved before. And I think it was a growing process. And John, you've had to kind of inherit that group of us rowdy people. So you've got your hands full.
well, a lot of people, look, not a day goes by, the Democrats don't attack me, and there are even Republicans that do as the establishment. And let me tell you, I grew up in Virginia politics as part of that grassroots. I was part of the group that, knocked the doors every cycle and did everything, made the phone calls. And when I first ran for office, it was really about, an opportunity to give back to our community and get some things accomplished, and really roll back some of the overreaching government that Virginia had become. And Republicans have a message that talks about ground up, not top down, and that's true of our party, and it's true of our Amanda, kind of people like you that we elect. Conservative women are really the future of our party, and really appreciate all you do, and we're really looking forward to this cycle. We've got to defend our House races. We've got to win statewide. This is our chance, and we can really do some real good things for Virginia.
Well, we appreciate your leadership, and I know it's not always easy, and I know that you want to pull your hair out a lot of the times. And I am impressed, and I would like to make a note that he still has his hair after 2 years of being in office. So hopefully it hasn't been too bad. But I love what John said when he ran for office, and then he said he was focused on building unity within the party and revitalizing fundraising outreach, which we need money to run. We just do. And it's time to shed our divisive labels, establishment, grassroots, libertarians, whatever we call ourselves. It's time to be Republicans first. And, I agree with him on that. And that's coming from a hardcore grassroots conservative, which is what I would call myself. But I guess I should stop saying that and just say Republican. But anyway, hard habits are hard to break. So we'll have to keep working on that one. Let's see, how many minutes do we have? We have 1 minute left. Our show is going so quickly. So what do you think about President Trump's illegal immigration? It looks like a lot is going on in the news right now. They've upheld parts of his travel ban. Did he mention anything about that whenever you were meeting at the White House?
We didn't talk about specific. It was really listening. It was really about, what can we do to help you win Virginia? So we didn't talk about that. But look, American people elected Donald Trump to be our president. He had an electoral college landslide, if not for California and New York, which are not really in the mainstream of American politics anymore. He would have won the popular vote. And so his agenda is one the American people have chosen. And, the Republicans in Congress better get back together and help the president with his agenda. We really need that. This is our chance to reform our government.
I agree. Hey, it's great having you on the show today, John Whitbeck. Thanks so much for being on the show today.
Well, thank you.
I can't believe it, but it's already time for the final wrap-up of Cut to the Chase with Senator Chase. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, I know that this is our second week on 97.7 FM. We're really glad you tuned in today. And in case you didn't catch it, I'm State Senator Amanda Chase, and I humbly serve you in the state Senate. I don't go to D.C., thankfully. as I've repeated before, I'm allergic to D.C., so I'm thankful that John Whitbeck went to D.C. today at the White House and had a great visit with the president today, and very thankful for his insight, and just appreciate your leadership, John, in being there. It's a volunteer position and it's thankless, and so I just personally want to say thank you for herding cats, because that's what he has to do. Anyway, thank you again for joining us today on Cut to the Chase with Senator Chase. Again, this is WNTW The Answer. I hope you're going to join us again next week. We already have confirmation from Republican Senator Majority Leader Tommy Normant that he is going to be with us next week. And there were a couple of major issues that came forward, and he is going to explain some of those to us. One of them has to do with the push to legalize, decriminalize the penalty for marijuana usage is one of those. And then we also had the issue about non-violent offenders getting their rights restored, their voting rights, and other rights back. So we're gonna have him on the line. That was some key legislation that he helped to sponsor. So you'll want to listen to that. If you would like to get notices of upcoming events and town halls, or my weekly newsletter that I put out during session, you can visit my website at chaseforsenate.com. Definitely sign up. And in fact, if you have signed up already, then you received something called In Due Course, which is a document highlighting legislation passed by the 2017 session of the General Assembly. That's right. This year, the General Assembly passed legislation to help fight the opioid epidemic, reform and improve our public education system, and protect our natural assets and resources like the Chesapeake Bay. And I'm thankful to say I at least was able to get one of my bills through, thanks to Senator Servo. For further information regarding new laws going into effect, you can visit the Division of Legislative Services website and check out In Due Course, which is a document highlighting legislation passed by the 2017 session of the General Assembly. Throughout the summer, I'll continue to hold office hours to meet with constituents. We're not in session right now, but we're still busy working. I'm on Facebook. I'm trying to answer a lot of your questions. I would get calls a lot of times, people just asking questions in general, or if they have a specific question with their business, whatever, I try to help them out. You can contact my office at District 11 at senate.virginia.gov, or my office number, 804-698-7511. And we'll make arrangements for your visit. Have a happy and safe July 4th weekend. I hopefully will see y'all in some of the local parades. I'll be at the Brander Mill Parade for those of you who are going to that. I hope I get to see you there. If not, have a safe July 4th weekend, and we'll see you next week on Cut to the Chase with Senator Chase.